Earlier we considered the possibility that electron wave can undergo diffraction in a crystal. Now in the same way, if every particle has a wave nature, neutron beam also can have diffraction in a crystal. Let's consider this. Okay, so if we consider rock salt, which is sodium chloride, its interatomic spacing is 0.282 nanometer or 2.82 angstrom. This is the interatomic spacing in sodium chloride crystal. Let us try to calculate what will be the, suppose if we have a neutron beam whose wavelength is equal to this interatomic distance, then naturally it can undergo diffraction in that crystal. Okay, so let us calculate the kinetic energy of a neutron beam having this much wavelength. Okay, so we want a beam of neutrons having de Broglie wavelength equal to this interatomic distance in sodium chloride. What should be the kinetic energy of that neutron beam? So de Broglie wavelength is given and we want to calculate the kinetic energy. Okay, so let us start like this. The de Broglie wavelength of the neutron beam is this much, 2.282 nanometer. We want to calculate the kinetic energy. Okay, so let us start with this de Broglie equation. If lambda is given, we can get momentum, right? If we have momentum, we can calculate Pc. Okay. So what is the value of Pc here? Hc is 1240 electron volt nanometer, and lambda is 0.282 nanometer, and if we calculate this value, you get 4.4 kilo electron volt. That is the value of Pc. Okay. If we have the value of Pc, what is our aim? We want to calculate the kinetic energy of the. Why did I calculate Pc's? The reason is from lambda we can get P. Once we get momentum, then how do we calculate the kinetic energy? If we remember the discussion on at the end of the previous problem, once we have momentum, there are two ways in which we can calculate kinetic energy. We can use non-relativistic calculation, which is P square by 2m kinetic energy. We can use relativistic calculation. What is the kinetic energy? Total energy minus rest energy. Total energy in terms of momentum is square root of some Pc whole square plus mc square the whole square minus rest energy. So from momentum there are two routes to get kinetic energy. So which route we will follow? If we are not sure, then we can surely calculate use relativistic formula, which is always correct, which is good for all speeds, low speeds as well as high speeds. But the relativistic formula is somewhat more complicated, but the non-relativistic formula is simpler. So if there is a chance that we can use approximate non-relativistic formula, we can surely use that chance. Okay. So how do we determine from the value of momentum? How do we determine whether we should use relativistic or non-relativistic calculation? This is possible if we take one more step and calculate the value of Pc. So that is why I have calculated Pc here. From the value of Pc, how do we decide? That we can use a relativistic or non-relativistic calculation? The logic is this: the expression for total energy is this square root of Pc whole square plus mc square the whole square. Okay. Now suppose Pc is very small compared to rest energy. In the limiting case, let us assume that Pc is equal to 0. Then what is the total energy? Total energy is simply equal to mc square, rest energy. So if Pc is 0, total energy is rest energy. Therefore, if Pc is very small compared to rest energy, okay, then the total energy must be very close to slightly above rest energy. Okay, which means that the kinetic energy is very small. So if Pc is very small compared to rest energy, we can say total energy is of the order of rest energy. Okay, which means that kinetic energy is small. If kinetic energy is small, it's non-relativistic calculation. So for non-relativistic calculation, the criteria is that from the point of view of P, momentum, the criteria is that the value of Pc is very small compared to rest energy. On the other hand, if Pc is of the order of rest energy, okay, then we have to use a relativistic calculation. We have to take the total energy minus rest energy to get the kinetic energy. So this is the condition. Okay, so that is why we once lambda is given and if we want to kinetic energy, want to calculate kinetic energy, then instead of momentum, let us always calculate Pc. Then we can compare with the rest energy and we can decide whether a relativistic or non-relativistic calculation is needed. So in this particular problem, our particle is neutron. The mass of the neutron is 1.675 into 10 raised to minus 27 kilogram. So the rest energy is 939.57 MeV. This we can check. Okay, multiply this with c square and divide with electronic charge to convert it into electron volt. We get this 939.57 MeV. This is our Pc, this is rest energy. So this 4.4 kilo electron volt is very small compared to 939.57 MeV. If you convert this into kilo electron volt, you get you have to multiply with another 10 raised to 3. So this is a very large value. So the kinetic energy, Pc is very small compared to rest energy. So we can use a non-relativistic calculation. Okay, relativistic calculation is not required in this case. Okay, so let us use non-relativistic calculation. What is the non-relativistic formula for kinetic energy? P square by 2m. Since we have calculated Pc, it is better to rewrite this formula in terms of Pc. So what we can do is, let us multiply numerator and denominator with c square. So numerator we have p square c square, which I can write as Pc whole square divided by 2 into mc square. Now Pc we know, mc square also we know, rest energy of the neutron. So what is kinetic energy? 4.4 kilo electron volt square, right? 2 into, this is 939.57 MeV, but since you have a keV in the numerator, convert denominator also into keV. So 939.57 into 10 raised to 3 keV. So answer will be in kilo electron volt, and if we substitute all the values, the answer is, the final value is not in kilo electron volt, it's a very small value, 0.0103 electron volt. You can see that the kinetic energy is very, very small compared to the rest energy. So this condition that Pc is very small compared to rest energy automatically ensures that the kinetic energy is very small, and non-relativistic calculation is justifiable. So this is the kinetic energy of the neutron beam, which has a de Broglie wavelength of 0.282 nanometer, and this type of a neutron beam can undergo diffraction in sodium chloride crystal. Generally, this type of low energy neutron beams are used for diffraction in crystals, and they can be used to study the crystal structure. Okay, neutron diffraction is a common technique to study crystal structure. Let me add one more point to this one. Let's calculate de Broglie wavelength de Broglie wavelength of thermal neutrons. Okay, so let us see what is, first of all, let us see what is meant by thermal neutrons. Suppose we have a collection of particles. Okay, consider a collection of particles in a container, which is in a temperature T. So we have a collection of particles in thermal equilibrium at temperature T. Then their most probable kinetic energy is equal to kT, where K is Boltzmann constant, and average kinetic energy is 3 by 2 kT. Okay, I am sure that the second result is at least familiar to you from the kinetic theory of gases, which you have studied in your higher secondary. So average kinetic energy is 3 by 2 kT. In addition to that, most probable energy is kT. K is Boltzmann constant and its value is 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 23 joule per Kelvin. We can also convert this into electron volt per Kelvin, and the value is 8.62 into 10 raised to minus 5 electron volt per Kelvin. What we have to do is just convert joule into electron volt, divide with electronic charge. So most often this second value is useful to calculate the kinetic energy, thermal energy, etc. of different subatomic particles or small particles. Okay. Now, if you have a collection of particles in thermal equilibrium at temperature T, its thermal energy, the term thermal energy is always used for most probable energy. Okay, so thermal energy of a collection of particles which are in thermal equilibrium at temperature T is often this one, most probable energy. That is what we refer. It is referred to as thermal energy. Let us calculate the thermal energy of a collection of particles at room temperature. Okay, suppose temperature is 27 degrees Celsius, which is 300 Kelvin. Okay, then this thermal energy is, if we substitute the value of K and in electron volt per Kelvin and this 300, what you get is 0.025 electron volt, which you can remember as 25 milli electron volt or 1 by 40 electron volt. Okay, that is the kinetic energy of a beam of particles which are in thermal equilibrium at room temperature. This is the most probable kinetic energy, or another word we use is thermal energy of a beam of particles and in thermal equilibrium at room temperature. Now, if we have a collection of neutrons which are in thermal equilibrium at room temperature, they are usually called thermal neutrons. Okay, so thermal neutrons have a most probable energy, this much, 0.025 electron volt. What is their de Broglie wavelength? So the most probable kinetic energy is this. This kinetic energy is very small compared to the rest energy, which is 939.57 mega electron volt. Therefore, we can use a non-relativistic calculation, that is h by square root of 2m into kinetic energy. M is the mass. Okay, we can often, instead of this formula, it is convenient to use this formula. Just multiply numerator and denominator with the c. So the c in the denominator you can take into the square root, so it becomes c square, so that you can write it like this. Right, hc, the value of hc you know, 1240 electron volt nanometer. Here mc square is 939.57 MeV, which you can convert into electron volt. Kinetic energy is also given electron volt. If you substitute all these values, what you get is 0.181 nanometer or 1.81 angstrom. So this is the de Broglie wavelength of a collection of thermal neutrons. Okay, these are thermal equivalent at room temperature having this much kinetic energy. So definitely you can see that this value 0.181 nanometer or 1.81 angstrom, this value is of the order of the interatomic spacing in many crystals. For example, we have seen that in rock salt and sodium chloride crystal, the interatomic spacing is 0.282 nanometer. So this type of thermal neutrons, a beam of thermal neutrons can be used for diffraction in suitable crystals with suitable interatomic spacing. Okay. So as we have mentioned, neutron diffraction is a common technique to study crystal structure. Okay, so far we have discussed 5 different problems in different physical contexts using de Broglie, the idea of de Broglie waves. The remaining, so the next class we have to see what is the experimental evidence for these de Broglie waves. So de Broglie proposed this idea in 1923 without any experimental evidence, and we have seen that Walter Althusser suggested that this electron wave, okay, when he calculated the wavelength of electron wave, it turned out that it's of the order of angstrom, which is equal of the order of the interatomic spacing in crystals. So he suggested that electron wave can undergo diffraction in crystals, and this type of diffraction of electron wave in crystals was experimentally confirmed just 4 years after de Broglie's theory. Okay, in 1927, a group that we mentioned already, Davison and Germer in USA, in New Jersey, in Bell Telephone Laboratories, and G.P. Thomson, who was J.J. Thomson's son, in I think Aberdeen University in Scotland. Okay, so these two separate groups independently obtained results confirming that electron wave can undergo diffraction in crystals. So we will look at the experimental proof in the next class. Thank you.